Welcome to the deep dive, where we take source material and really distill it down to the essential, actionable insights.
The things you can actually use.
Exactly. And today we're looking at something pretty personal, I think. It's a framework of 15 core foundational assumptions about life. And this isn't just an exercise in, abstract philosophy.
Not at all.
The source material presents this as a complete operating manual. It's designed to guide every choice you make to create what it calls a good life.
And that's the key phrase, isn't it? A good life.
It is. So our mission today is to unpack how these ideas come together to form what the source calls a coherent stance.
A single unified view.
Right. And the goal of this stance is to shift your energy away from that exhausting cycle of wishing things were different.
To the powerful work of shaping your own character and your response to what's actually happening.
That redirection of energy, that's the core of it all.
It absolutely is. And to get there, the source groups these assumptions into three sort of foundational views. You can think of them as pillars that stabilize you, that sustain hope.
Okay, what are they?
First, there's a view of the universe that it tilts friendly, that it's supportive. Second, there's a view of human beings as being innately good.
That's a big one.
It's huge. And third, a view that every single person is uniquely valuable and connected to the whole. If you can stand on those three pillars, everything else it flows from there.
Okay, let's unpack that first group then, the one that frames the wider world, this context of limits and support. I mean, that feels like the right starting point.
It is, because it sets your default expectation. It moves it away from threat.
Away from hostility.
Exactly. We start with what we can call the friendly frame. It's anchored in this idea that the universe is generally friendly, that ultimately you are loved and all is well.
Now, that could sound a little naive, maybe. It's not denying hardship, is it?
Not at all. That's the crucial distinction. It's a reinterpretation of hardship. It suggests the wider reality tends towards support, not opposition. So it's a backdrop that invites courage, resilience.
So how does that play out, practically?
Well, the practical effect is it strengthens your ability to handle setbacks. You stop seeing a difficulty as proof that the world is out to get you.
Right.
Instead, you see it as a challenge, something that's navigable, something that's part of a larger pattern that actually supports your growth. That conviction alone changes your emotional response from, say, fear to determination.
I really like that distinction, and it seems to lead right into the next idea, which is that we're all just small pieces in a much bigger puzzle.
The larger container.
Right. The idea that the world you know is only part of a much larger universe, and that you are part of something greater than yourself.
Yes. Community, tradition, a shared purpose.
Whatever it might be.
And that move is just essential for perspective. Seeing yourself as part of a larger container does two key things psychologically. First, it instantly reduces that feeling of isolation.
You're not alone.
You are not alone in the struggle. And second, it spreads the responsibility. I mean, when you realize that you yourself don't have to carry every single burden in the world, your anxiety just naturally drops.
It puts your daily experience into proportion.
Exactly. It's valid, but it's just one small part of what truly exists.
But that perspective must require certain humility, which I guess leads to accepting the limits of knowledge.
Yes. The understanding that there are things you do not know and in fact never will know.
And in our age of information overload, where we're all chasing certainty, that feels kind of radical.
It is radical.
Yeah.
And it's so necessary for any kind of inner peace. Acknowledging what you don't know keeps your pride in check. It stops that arrogance that leads to making bad decisions.
But here's the paradox, right?
Yes. The paradox is that accepting those limits doesn't shut your mind down. It actually keeps your curiosity active. It makes you keenly aware of how vast everything is, which just inspires you to keep learning.
Okay, so that gives us this supportive, vast world context. Once that's in place, we have to look inward. We move from the cosmic to the immediate.
To the human element.
How should we view ourselves? How should we view other people? And the source grounds this in innate goodness and unique value.
Let's start with innate goodness, because it's a revolutionary idea for many people. The idea that people are fundamentally bent toward care, fairness, cooperation.
Now, that is a profound statement, and I think a lot of people listening, maybe looking at the news, would ask, if people are innately good, how do we explain all the cruelty, the betrayal?
That's the question you have to ask. And the framework doesn't deny that bad actions happen. Of course they do.
So what's the explanation?
It suggests that the core operating system is good. The deviations from that, which are very real, They come from fear or ignorance or a damaged context. They don't start from malice.
Okay, so malice isn't the starting point.
Precisely. And this is where the practical effect is just massive. If you hold that assumption of innate goodness, it immediately promotes patience, generosity, and trust in your daily life.
It changes how you see a conflict.
Completely. A misstep by a partner or a colleague isn't a permanent judgment. It's an opportunity to repair the relationship. You're investing in trust, which is the fuel for any successful community.
And then we turn that lens on ourselves with unique value. The affirmation that you are unique, you are valuable. No one is a copy. Everyone has a place.
This is such a vital internal guardrail. On a macro level, sure, it means our policies should reflect human dignity. But personally, the most freeing part is how it just curbs. It curbs the comparison trap.
Oh, that is so essential, especially now. We spend so much energy measuring ourselves against everyone else's highlight reel.
That's right. When you genuinely believe your worth is inherent and unique, you stop wasting all that energy on comparison and judgment.
And that energy can go somewhere else.
It's freed up. It can be directed toward living well, toward contributing, which of course benefits everyone.
Okay, this is where we hit the most actionable part of this whole deep dive. If the world is supportive and people are fundamentally good, what is our personal sphere of control?
This is where the rubber meets the road.
It really is, starting with the principle of agency.
We call it the agency principle.
Yeah.
And it is a very clear, sober grasp of your limits and your power. The assumption is simple. You cannot change what happens. The external event is fixed.
You can only change your reaction to it.
You can only change your reaction, and that distinction redirects a massive amount of energy away from, a fruitless struggle.
It sounds so simple, but it's incredibly hard to do in the moment when stress is high. So how does the framework suggest we actually do that?
Well, it shifts your entire focus. You stop trying to rewrite the past, which is impossible, and you start shaping your character in the present moment.
Yeah.
The source gives this really powerful, concrete example. Imagine a big, complex plan collapses right before a deadline.
Okay, nightmare scenario.
Right. The person without this framework blames the world, curses their luck, and freezes. They've handed all their power over to the event.
And the other person?
The person operating from the agency principle accepts the outcome has happened. They regulate their breath to stay calm. They clarify the next steps. They seek help. That person experiences so much more control, even though the external event was identical.
So the focus shifts entirely to competence under pressure.
To inner shaping under pressure. And that illustrates so clearly that this is a skill you learn and practice. It's not just some innate talent.
Which brings us to this next cluster of assumptions, that the path to a good life is entirely learnable.
This is the reframing of success that I think so many people are looking for. The framework is explicit. Anyone can learn the skills needed to live a good life. It is not about genetics or luck.
It's learned and practiced.
Exactly. It involves competence in thinking, relating, choosing, acting. When you accept this, the dominant forces of success are no longer fate or genius. They're practice and disciplined action.
And the source gets very specific about how that practice works. It's through clear thinking and good habits.
They are the engine of change, absolutely.
Let's define clear thinking first.
Okay. Clear thinking means seeing facts as they are, without all the emotional baggage. It means naming your assumptions in any situation and then rigorously checking your conclusions against reality.
So it's not about being clever.
It's about being honest. For example, it means pausing before you send that angry email to a colleague to name the assumption you're making about their intent. Are you assuming they meant to slight you? Are you assuming malice? Then you check if that conclusion is supported by facts or just by your frustration. That pause is the difference between a crisis and a clear next step.
And good habits are the other half of that engine.
They're the necessary partner. Good habits are the repeated small actions that reliably support your health, your relationships, your purpose.
So clear thinking and good habits work together.
They form a loop. Clear insight informs a better action, and that consistent action refines your insight. It creates compounding benefits. Small things like setting aside time to reflect generate massive results because they're done consistently.
But doing things consistently requires something bigger to hold them in place, and that's commitment. The source calls it the hinge of progress.
That's right. And it's tied to that other inspiring idea that it's never too late to change. That idea keeps the door open for renewal, always.
But you need commitment to walk through that door.
That's the hinge. Learning new skills needs steady effort, consistent follow-through. It's not about quick bursts of enthusiasm that fade. Commitment isn't a feeling. It's a pledge of action over time, despite the obstacles.
In a culture that's always chasing the quick fix, the life hack, that idea really stands out.
It does. It says that even modest efforts, if they're sustained by commitment, will accumulate into real, enduring change. Without that pledge, all the best ideas in the world they drift away.
So after all this work, the clear thinking, the good habits, the unwavering commitment, what's the payoff? The last couple of assumptions deal with the outcome, happiness and meaning.
And this is a crucial pivot. It counters that modern chase for pleasure. Happiness and meaning are defined not as starting points you have to find, but as outcomes.
They arise from living well.
Exactly. They're results tied directly to sound living, not to random chance.
So if you're feeling unfulfilled, the answer isn't to look for a quick distraction. It's to look at your own thoughts and habits.
That's it. When your daily actions align with your core values, when you're living consciously, a sense of joy and significance it naturally follows. The person who builds the habit of honest dialogue and patient listening finds a much deeper purpose than someone relying on short-term pleasures.
The path is accessible to anyone who chooses to cultivate their character.
That's the promise.
Okay, let's circle back and summarize this entire coherent stance. It's this powerful internal architecture. It's built on dignity and connection. It accepts that limits are real.
We can't change external events.
But it insists our agency, our power, is entirely in how we respond.
And for you, the listener, the result of really adopting this framework is a life that is demonstrably calm, capable, and hopeful. And that stability doesn't depend on your circumstances. It depends on your internal mechanics.
It's a trustworthy compass.
It is. That core assurance that the world is generally friendly and that you are loved, it stabilizes the heart and sustains hope. And it's all powered by the steady, intentional practice of these skills.
That is the practical power of having a coherent stance. The source material brings all 15 assumptions together with a final, powerful call to action. The challenge isn't to debate the philosophy.
It's to start practicing.
To start practicing it. If the path to a calm, capable, and meaningful life is truly accessible to anyone who chooses to cultivate it, then you have to begin today. We've discussed key skills like regulating your breath when a plan collapses, patient listening in your relationships, checking your core assumptions before you react. So your challenge is this. Choose one of those skills to practice with commitment. Shape your daily responses according to clear thinking and good habits. That is the true beginning of sound living.
That's it. That's the work.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll talk to you next time.